It's a real pleasure to have you here on our podcast at Autism Spa. I've read a lot about what you're doing. I'm so happy we got a chance to connect. Everything from your angel investing work and to being an advisor on some of these autism programs to the DoD. Those are pretty amazing accomplishments. I understand you've been involved in autism for a long time. Tell us what got you into this field and especially the Autism Angels Group.
Sure. So I'm one of 6 kids. I'm the third of the 6. And in the late 60s, the fourth of the 6 went to the Cleveland Clinic with my mother and was the very first person diagnosed with autism at the Cleveland Clinic. When the doctor said to my mother, "How can you live with this wild animal?" It's a very different world for you when you and your wife received the diagnosis of your son. And it was a very ugly world. That was when the mothers were deemed as cold. And my mother was like, well, I have 3 other kids that are not like Michael. And so that was the beginning. And at that point in time, a lot of people thought we were saying artistic and not autistic. That was a common theme in the 60s and 70s until autism started to unfortunately grow at a higher length, but the spectrum grew wider. So my father, my other brother, who was followed by Michael, was diagnosed in his 20s with Asperger's, which is now part of autism. And so that was a challenge for him. He had a lot of learning challenges. So that was important for him to get that diagnosis. That gave him a lot of answers. So that was good. He has a successful job and recently was married for the first time in his mid-50s. So he's doing well. But anyway, so my father and my mother had to learn a lot about autism. And as Michael went into puberty, having him at home became challenging. Right. So my parents started to look for a program for him. And, it was really hard. The stuff they saw are things that you don't want to see. In the 60s, in the 70s? This would have been in the 70s.
70s, right. Yeah.
So, electric shock, the place my parents ran out, this is not acceptable for my son. And they finally, after a bunch of research and traveling all around the country, they found a place in Delaware called Eau Claire. It's no longer there, but it was a school that was backed up to a horse trotting racetrack. And the owners had these horses. And it was this notion that animals and people on the spectrum, there could be a benefit. They also did a lot of controversial therapy. And I don't want to go into details there. It's not very pleasant.
Was ABA even a thing back then?
No.
So it was just trial and error or people's opinions about what works?
There was physical strain.
Right.
In multiple forms. And I don't really want to talk about it because it got emotional. But my parents, he left. He was there for 5 years. From when he was 13 till when he was 18. Right. So after that, luckily, my parents found I'll speed it up here because I want to get into the Autism Angels Group. But they found an amazing program in New Jersey called Eden's. And it was the top program at that time. It's still pretty excellent today, but at the time it was the top place. And they had group homes and they had a school and they had associations with work. So all those things were really important. They were ahead of their times, So Michael, this would have been 41 years ago. That Michael has been in a group home for 41 years at this place.
And is your family's home close to New Jersey?
Within a couple hours. Yeah, within a couple
So you
hours.
could go and visit anytime you want.
Absolutely, and we did often.
But in general, there aren't homes like that just on every street corner.
The wait list is huge, even to this day. Right. We were very fortunate that Michael got into that program, and he, like I said, he'll be there for the rest of his life. Right. And we have a video call with him every week now with COVID, and we see him because we've had some most of us have been vaccinated. Well, many of us and the entire staff there and the group home people. So we've had I'll see him in August when I go to New Jersey.
Right.
So New Jersey passed the Gambling Act sometime in the 80s, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember exactly, but that meant that Atlantic City became a gambling hub, and the monies and the royalties from that went to senior activities and to special ed in New Jersey. So there was more money in that state than other states, at least earmarked. And so a lot of people on the spectrum, or families with people on the spectrum, went to New Jersey for these services. So the ratio of people with autism in New Jersey is much higher than the rest of the country. So it's more like 1 in 32, I think I heard from someone, versus 1 in 56. So it's really interesting to see how that may not, that's burdened the state, obviously, because they didn't expect that. They were basing it on the stats of the time. So anyway, it's just interesting how data and the spectrum range has impacted a lot of
it changes state to state. I mean, a country the size of California is going to have a very much different ways of dealing with special needs. And that's another thing I'll cover later. But New Jersey is a tiny state.
So it's and highly the gambling populated, though. It's highly populated.
It is.
It's small physically, but yeah. Okay, so my dad was he was a very successful businessman. He worked for Booz Allen. He was their CFO. He started the Latin America practice, and he wanted to give back. I mean, he has challenges that him and my mom had to deal with. He wanted to help. So my parents started group homes in New Jersey, in Summit, New Jersey, where we were living at the time. This is when, the neighbors were in an uproar. No, not in my block, but, when they were successful, not in the uppity part, but, they found some decent homes to buy, renovated, and they became really nice group homes. It's called Our House. So my father was a founder of that. And then he got more active at Eden's, became a board member. And then he met a lot of people like I have in my work. Your network starts to grow a lot. And so he became part of the New Jersey Disability Advocates Board. And, he was a great advocate, did a lot. And he sat on the board of Eden's. And my father then started the Organization for Autism Research, which he started with several other people out of DC. And then my father also started the very first scholarships for people on the spectrum to go to college. That was about 20 years ago. So my dad I've been in tech. I have I have a computer science and math degree. I was a software developer for years. And I worked in health IT for many, many years. And he said, you need to take your tech background and your autism knowledge and do something. Do something to help. Do something to help, which is the Organization for Autism Research, or do something to help Eden. So my dad was telling me this as he was starting to get sick. He passed away in 2017. Huge loss for all of us.
Yeah, true.
But I did. I took over as board seat at OR. I have become more active. And then I decided to quit my W-2 job and really spend more time. I was investing in some companies in this space. And I've been investing in companies for over 10 years now. And this seemed like the right thing to do. I was helping there's an Autism Impact Fund, which was started by Sean O'Sullivan, that you may know from SOVC, who has IndieBio and several other accelerators in both New York and San Francisco. I was trying to help them find a general partner, which really opened up. I went to my entire network because I really wanted this fund to be funded. This was a couple of years ago, about 3 years ago. And so it was a good opportunity. I didn't realize at the time, but looking for this person or people. And so I found out about a lot of people with connections with autism. So anyway, fast forward to last year, I really felt it was important to start the Autism Angels Group. I felt like it was a void. There were a lot of people who had great startup ideas and they really needed to have some money. And so I reached out to a woman who her and I had met a couple of years before, we had gone to that Holly Rod Foundation I was mentioning before we recorded, and fundraiser, and I asked her to be my co-founder, and she said yes, and so I've been very blessed. She's different than I am, and so we have different networks and different backgrounds. You know, me computer science and math, and she's a neuroscientist and an Oxford person. So it was a nice compliment. So yeah, we started, and we got some good press. We talked to Sean O'Sullivan, who gave us a nice quote for our website and an advocacy on social media. And we got a lot of interest and a lot of attention to our press. So it's been great. I mean, we were working very hard, and we made some investments. I don't have enough angels, so if anyone who's listening to this is an accredited angel investor, please reach out, because it's a great opportunity and there's some good growth.
Right.
It's social impact investing, so you're not going to necessarily get a tenfold, but you'll get a return, and you're doing good. So it's like a win-win situation.
Right.
So we've done 3 or 4 pitch events, and we've invested in about 8 companies over the course of those pitch events. Again, not enough capital. Checks are totaling like 20 or so, and it's not enough money.
Right.
So, I mean, that's just not enough. I do a lot of angel investing with other groups too, and it's just not enough money.
Right.
So we decided to do a compliment fund, because we thought, even if it's small, we'll have more money to invest in these companies. We're just seeking out the best limited partners for us. And we're doing an interesting corporate construct that's a combination of a for-profit and nonprofit.
Right.
So we can give out micro grants, like I was mentioning earlier to you, for some of these founders that need it. So I sit on boards of for-profit and nonprofit. I was nominated by OR to do the Congressional Medical Research Program on Autism, which is a good thing right now. We got more money last year. We were able to give out $15 million in grants the year before, and consistently previous years it was about $8 million. So that money is good. It's a long journey to get that money for a grant proposal. You need to do a lot of work, but it's deep research in this space, and it's really interesting.
But it's interesting that the government, I just noticed that, I should have known this, but there is an autism coordinator, the federal interagency autism committee. Right.
And I know a couple people on that committee. And a woman who's a professor at my alma mater, Dr. Carter from UMass Boston, is on there, and Hari, who's a nonverbal. You need to see Hari's blog. Are you familiar with him?
I will. I have heard of him, but I wanted to talk with somebody on that interagency committee, because as a government relations guy, I'm just fascinated. How is government going to solve this problem and contribute to its movement forward?
Right. So that's a really important committee for sure. But when the Congressional Medical Research Program started, it was with breast cancer, and the Congress said, "Well, we'll give you money, but we want the Army to manage the money."
Oh no! Okay.
My dad, I think, probably would laugh at that, because he was a former Army soldier. Anyway, so that money is overseen by the DoD. And so it's just interesting to that whole dynamic. General Dynamics isn't active.
Right.
And so there's a bunch of different portfolios that are under that program.
Right.
Breast cancer, ortho stuff for, wounded warrior type situation. They have, other cancers and autism. So it's a pretty great program, and they put a lot of money out for research and for good.
I'll definitely want to circle back and talk with somebody on the interagency group, because like I said, I'm just interested in how are they going to execute their plan. But getting back to your Angels group, tell me about, if you can, some of the types of technology, types of startups that are coming to you. And what do you personally feel is lacking in the startup community? Like what type of technologies do we need to help the autism community?
Well, Okay, so let me start to say the kinds of startups that have come to us are some ed tech companies that help with the coordination of parents, teachers, occupational therapists, et cetera. So there's those kinds of solutions. There's, we were talking before you were recording about meltdowns. There's meltdown products that help identify and measure, which can be of value when you're looking and talking to your physicians to monitor treatments to see how they're working. So if that's available. There's some clinics that are expanding more nationally. They've been seeking funding. We've had companies come to us that have a model of employing many people on the spectrum who have a different business model. So we've listened to those people pitch just a wide variety. We've had portals that are focusing on parents. We've had solutions that have telehealth and therapy and knowledge-based solutions that come to us. So a whole variety. If I look at what's missing, it's a really good question in terms of what's needed. I think that there needs to be more coordination with, and I don't think this is necessarily for profit, but I think there needs to be more coordination with employment needs. So there's a lot of different programs out there for hiring, but there's not enough coordination around the small business and big business. And how do you find the right candidates that fit in certain categories? Or can they be, are they workers, as you know, as a father, that can work in a professional setting or need to do repetitive work? I think there's a whole ecosystem that needs to be created that doesn't exist today. I would love to see someone with more money than they need in life to fund that. That would be really to basically helping everybody.
To basically help adults, or sometimes what people call neurodiverse adults, get into the workforce, stay into the workforce, and then get some special help in that company, in that job that isn't always available. It isn't the HR guy or the HR lady. It's something else. And I've seen Amazon and some big companies, Walmart, I don't remember all the company names, begin to have neurodiverse coordinators, some of the big companies. And I think that's wonderful. But as you're saying, we need a lot more, because as these kids age out of the system, the educational system, and they need to find some avocation to feel useful like any other adult, and they need a little bit more help. And somebody started.
And they also offer a lot of unique gifts in the workplace that you and I didn't give our companies or our entities we worked for. We did it our way. And a lot of these neurodiverse workers are extraordinary. Yesterday, CNN had another airing of the autism at work kind of thing that Anderson Cooper did. And he is not able to do certain things with his brain that a person sitting next to him with autism can do. And therefore, the person, given the type of work it is, can be really beneficial to the workplace. Different than Anderson and you and I. So I think that's education to the public and to corporations and small businesses. There's great value. You just have to figure out the right dance, with the person. So
that's an opportunity. And do you find that angel investors are investing in those types of opportunities? I mean, it's one thing to understand where we think the gaps are, but from a business standpoint, what are angel investors really looking for? They're not going to get the return, as you mentioned, of what they thought in some other category. But what are they looking for?
They're looking for value in the community. So the Autism Angels investors who have signed up and paid the small fee we asked them to pay, they are either neurodiverse themselves, or they are our family members, or they just care. They care about this mission. Because they see the value in society to caring about the mission. So those are the three types of investors. They're all accredited. And so each one has an individual way of thinking and deciding if they're going to invest. Some may only have, $25,000 a given year to do investing, so they'll only make small checks,
Right.
So it all depends on how active they are, how big their checks are, but they answer with their own heart. And
Right.
so a parent who sees a tool that's going to help their child in the school may likely to invest in that, or to help their child with a meltdown, or to help, they think that there might be bigger return and a big impact on a services solution. Those kinds of decisions are very personal based on the investor.
Right. Well, just like you and I, your family invested really in autism development and research. Thank God for as long as your father has, and now you are. Here I am doing a podcast on autism. I think some time ago I wouldn't have put this as a priority in my life before my son was born. But now all I can think about is the only legacy I'm interested in is doing something for this community, not just him, because the journey you and I have been through and other families like this have been through in this country, it's so compelling and difficult and challenging. The first thought I think you have is, how do you help others learn, kind of get through it a little bit better than you did?
Right.
Right. Because you just
right.
can't
That's
think
very true.
You don't want to just, and you don't want to, I want to say, you don't want to feel like a victim, right? I never curse my lot in life. I never say, oh no, why? I never do that. I'm the happiest dad in the world. Seeing him every morning is the best part of my day. I wouldn't trade it for, all the, the tea in China or something. But I know other families have it tougher. And they need, some more help. Yeah. And I feel like if people like you and I and angel investors and communicators and people that are have some superpower to help the community, then that's what we need to do. However long we can do it. That's my feeling.
Yeah, no, that's so true. I was worked on a paper that was pseudo associated with Stanford called ND Gifts, Neurodiversity Gifts. Mm-hmm. And it was about maybe 60 pages. And there was a section that I was assigned with another colleague in New York on the disadvantaged people who have autism. Mm-hmm. And it was really doing the research so that we were speaking with some knowledge, mm-hmm. was really interesting. And, a lot of different cultures will hide the autism and not let the person leave the house and don't want anyone to know. And it's like, that's humiliation, which is not true.
Right.
I mean, it is what it is. People, and so that, the people of color, for example, or below the poverty line, don't have access to the treatment that your family and my family have been able to access. There is a huge opportunity, social impact for that community that you were alluding to is really something that the overall community needs to figure out and lift up, big time.
Right. Well, Cathy Farmer, you've made a friend for life.
We're part of the same family. We're part of the same family.
We're part of the same larger family, right? It's my uncle Farmer from my aunt Farmer from.
There you go. There you go.
You have an Uncle Afshar out in San Diego. So.
No, I'm in Berkeley. So anytime you need family in Berkeley, we're here.
Thank you. Well, this is part of the joy of doing this podcast, and I come across so many professionals and experts that have a passion. I really haven't seen any other industry where people connect, like we were able to connect and then continue to help each other, because we know we need a lot of help. We don't have all the answers. We need a lot of help. So we're going to keep talking, Cathy, and whatever I can do to help your mission, you can count on me. I know I can count on you. And I will call on you to talk more about the Angel Investing Group. And as entrepreneurs come up, I'm happy to have them on my podcast and help pitch them, be an advocate for them to get their message out. Because sometimes I understand working with tech companies, they're good at the tech, but not the communication and the public affairs and the storytelling, right? So that people tell me I'm not bad at, so I'm happy to tell their story any which way I can and help them bring all of those amazing ideas to fruition, scale up. So the next time somebody gets that could be a difficult moment, that diagnosis, You don't feel alone. You don't feel overwhelmed. You don't feel depressed. You feel like you have a wealth of resources at your disposal. That's really what we're going for. The angel investing and there's just an excuse to help people at that moment, their most vulnerable, most difficult moment, feel empowered. That's what we're going for. So I feel very blessed to have made this connection with you, and we're going to keep talking, Cathy Farmer.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on our podcast.
Take care. Great.
Bye.
Bye.